Thank you for the introduction. Hey everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about navigating complex projects. Before we start, have you ever found yourself really struggling to navigate a complex project before? Or have you ever felt like you're working really hard, but you are not making any progress? Or sometimes, after all of this, have you ever received a feedback that you are being not flexible enough and not moving the pieces into the good form and shape? Fortunately, I've been there, done all of it, and hopefully today I'm going to be sharing some fresh experiences and some fresh memory from those kind of projects. Complex projects can be really overwhelming and challenging, and they can be a curse or a blessing for your career. So today I'm going to be talking about what are the practical ways to balance assertiveness and adaptability in these kind of projects. So then you will be able to avoid some common pitfalls, find some success, and also hopefully we will be influencing the next set of projects with these learnings. There are many complex project types, but today I'm going to be focusing on mainly 3 types of projects that I found in my career really hard to move on, really get to the finish line. These are migrations, shadowing, and acceleration projects. Migrations are, as we all know, they are usually moving data, application, or the whole systems from one environment to another environment. This can be at the operating system level, all the way to frameworks and application levels, and there could be many more different challenges and different layers in between, like moving from one cloud to another or hybrid cloud nowadays. Shadowing is a little bit interesting. It is a project type that is usually you start as handoff. You are watching the team doing the project, and then you will become eventually contributing to the project. And the last project today I would like to talk about are acceleration projects. These are inception-like projects. They are projects inside the projects, and they are usually emerged from a project that is already late and running, and someone needs to jump on and then improve the quality and speed, so then the deadline could be met. Let's look at the migrations first. In these kind of projects, getting success, navigating your way out is really hard. So today I'm going to be sharing some of the practical targets you can achieve in these projects to see the deadline, to see the success. There are many more angles, of course, but these are the experiences I have recently had and found success by peer feedback, customer feedback, and stakeholder feedback. So in migration projects, in my experience, you can double down on 3 things. One is customer trust, the second one is security and safety, and the last one is quality. Of course, customer trust is essential. Your customer could be a first party, like another team in the organization, could be end users, could be a third party. We all can call them customers of our software. Showing integrity and providing bad news early in migration projects provides you a better way to earn their trust. Because sometimes I see in the projects and teams, they started to hide the bad news in these kind of projects, because migration projects start with a lot of assumptions, everything can go wrong. Still, you need to get the customer trust by sharing these news as early as possible. Because hiding them could be deceiving the customer in the beginning, but eventually you will lose all of the trust. And the second one is security and safety. Most of the time, when you are changing from one environment to another environment, you are ending up opening up a lot of security issues. New environment comes with new conventions. So all of these security issues and safety issues could be a nightmare in the beginning. But actually, by providing a proactive way of fixing these issues and providing some thought leadership on these and making them priority could also help you boost the customer trust in these kind of projects. Last but not least, quality. There are lots of other aspects of quality for this kind of projects. This can be testing, automation, all other stuff. But I think service level objectives for these kind of projects are the most practical targets you can achieve in these migration projects, because you are going to be living in two different universes in these kind of projects. You will have some customers and some users and data in one universe, and then in your migrated environment, you will have another set of customers and users, and you will be living with these multi-universe until one collapses to another, hopefully to the newest one. So that's why your service level objectives on these kind of environments are important. In your new environment, you need to target at least the same service level objectives. But if you are having a better service level objective, this creates some joy and trust eventually to the project and to your customers. When it comes to shadowing projects, this is one of the tricky type of projects, because this is usually starting hands-off, and then you are expected to be hands-on eventually. So if you are a strongly opinionated engineer on certain things, this will be starting really hard to understand, like, why on earth we still have this kind of projects? While I know the answers, why am I still doing hands-off? I mean, basically, these projects are there for some business reasons. Most probably, if you are creating a brand new team, you don't want to just push this team to the field immediately. You want this team to learn from existing workflows and way of working. This could be one of the reasons you may need some shadowing. Also, first-party or third-party migrations and handovers require these kind of project types as well. So you have to see how the other team is doing, learn from it, and then understand the project and concepts. Most of the time, these kind of projects require quick learner activities and understanding the both systems as quickly as possible. But to do all of these, what you can target in these kind of projects is mainly maintaining the team dynamics. So you need to be assertive in terms of making sure everyone is able to work, all pointy edges are somehow mitigated, but also you have to be adaptive because you need to get all the input from all different parties for this kind of projects. And the acceleration projects are, like I mentioned before, they are more like an inception type of project, like the famous movie. They are project inside a project, and they usually emerge from a late-running project. Some stakeholder is not happy with the project, or maybe customers are not happy, and then someone could pull the trigger and then start a new mini project inside the whole project. Or as a StaffPlus engineer and as a senior IC in the team, you might be just pulled into these kind of projects. So that's why for this kind of projects, improving this speed and targeting delivery are really important. But to achieve these important goals, I think the practical targets I have seen work very well in this kind of projects are, first, you need to really stay focused on the main goals. You have to reiterate the problem space. You have to really understand what you are solving, because most of the time, when you are not focusing on the goal and reiterating the problem, you may be falling into pitfalls of the previous attempts in these projects. When you join these kind of projects, one of the practical targets is trying to find some shortcuts, because previously people have tried different things. It took longer. Then your expertise could be helping them to find shortcuts in these projects, and maybe you can find the deadline for these kind of projects. Yes, I said there will be only 3 types of projects I would like to talk today, but at this age, you cannot really escape AI. It's impossible to not mention AI projects. I think, in my view, AI projects has entered the most complex project types kind of list in the top position after all the LLMs and GPTs happening around us. We all know that these LLMs are non-deterministic. So that's why when you work with these LLMs, the project is becoming also non-deterministic. For this kind of projects, which I have been working almost around 2 years in my day job, I have started to understand what are the better ways to work in these kind of projects. I'm going to be providing some quick examples on this one, but the AI project itself could be just a whole conference talk itself. It's a very complex and deep and emerging field. One thing I found really practical for this kind of projects when you want to navigate and find success is first, you have to accept this is a non-conventional software engineering. Like you have to accept that the AI is non-conventional, everything's non-deterministic, so as your software engineering practices. And also you started to realize in this kind of projects, as an engineer, you are mainly riding on the back seat. There are data science people, there are UX people, there are lots of other parties joining into these projects and may get the front seat for driving certain aspects of these projects. But as an engineer, what you need to do is try to understand the patterns here and try to create conventions because we like working with conventions. And the second one is there's literally no best practice in any of these AI projects. People are still trying to identify and understand what's the best use case for these LLMs. And also people try to fit in these into the existing workflows and workflows and frameworks. So that's why your previous assumptions, your previous conventional way of doing things may never work for these kind of projects. For example, people are starting to use a mighty model like GPT-4 and trying to scale down. They are trying to use one prompt to another project, but you will start to realize this as quickly as possible that one prompt doesn't work in another use case, one data for one context cannot work in another one, so on and so forth. That's why you will start to understand there is no best practice and everything is very non-conventional. So think about all these project types: migrations, accelerations, shadowing, AI projects. We need to understand how are we going to influence these projects without having an authority in these projects. All the time, I've started to realize there are lots of different leadership styles you can apply as an IC for this kind of complex projects and complex environments. And today I'm going to be talking about 2 practical and consistently working ways for me in these kind of projects. There are lots of other ways of applying leadership and different styles, but for these kind of projects, I've seen success, again, by peer feedback and stakeholder feedback over time. The first style is assertive. Assertive style, in my view, is characterized as firm, clear delegation of tasks and responsibilities. It has a strong focus on achieving goals and objectives in a structured and disciplined way. On the other hand, adaptive style is a little bit flexible, collaborative leadership approach, but it mainly targets creativity, innovation, but the main point of being adaptive is building relationship. So if you look at the assertive style a little bit deeper, assertive means you have to be confident and decisive and take in charge when needed. This is effective when you are trying to earn customer trust in one of those projects. Establishing customer trust can be achieved using open communication, delivering your commitments, keeping your promises, ensuring the customer satisfaction. But when you are trying to apply an assertive style for this kind of targets, I found useful by focusing on security and safety. No one writes code just to create security issues. Everyone wants to write secure code. So attacking security and safety issues with an assertive style is important. You don't want to be adaptive in a security and safety domain. You don't want to be creative. You want to be decisive and clear for the security and safety issues. And the other one is quality. When it comes to quality, there are lots of ways to improve it. But if you just specifically think about testing, automation, and documentation quality, being assertive in these topics are really important for success. Because, for example, if you have a very flaky test, you don't want to be very creative about it. You have to be assertive that these tests are some warning signals in your production pipeline. So you have to be on top of them, clearly assigning and delegating and get a structured objective out of it. If we look at the adaptive style for this kind of adaptive leadership style for this kind of projects, I found great success by applying the adaptive style, adaptive leadership into the architecture of these complex projects. I am one of those people as well. I believe architecture and architect is not a single role. It's a team sport. So we are all architects in different levels, and we play different contributions in the architecture discussions. But when you think about this from a very complex project point of view, to get success from these projects, I found being adaptive in the technology of the architecture is really successful, because most of the time these complex projects may require different technology sets, and you may start to feel some pushback, and also you may have emotional attachment to certain technologies. And as a leader in these kind of projects, to influence the project and overall direction and success, you have to be adaptive in the technology choices. You have to ask this question to yourself: am I really happy with this technology? Can I embrace this new technology, or should I stick to the other technology that I have glory in my past? So you have to be really adaptive, and then read the room, and then find the stakeholder and especially customer feedback to understand if you are choosing pragmatically. And the other one is, of course, process. These complex projects may introduce a lot of constraints, and you may not really apply your best practice processes, or the tooling may not be available, or even the process itself that you used to do for a simple project may never be happening here. That's why you have to keep in mind that you need to be adaptive, show flexibility for this kind of projects to be able to influence. I think this is one of the most important skills as an IC, individual contributor, in your career that you need to develop. This is mainly the how part of all the tips here, because you will be always in these kind of hard projects, complex environments. You may not have the authority, you may not have the authority designed in your role, but influencing as an individual contributor may create this loosely coupled authority, so you can really influence the direction, and you can really have a significant impact on your team, organization, and eventually on your careers. To create influence, there are lots of different skills you have to be developing. Some of them are creating strong relationship with the stakeholders, communicating effectively, persuasion is really important, as well as negotiation. But you will always achieve these outcomes and drive results by your actions and decisions. It's really important. So let's look at what kind of practical ways to increase your influence in these projects. I call them superpowers, because when you really practice well and then get into the zone, applying them in these projects, you started to feel like you have a lot of significant authority and influence in the project, that you feel like you are in the main stage, although you may not be designed, your title may not be designed. And this is the power of engineering and leadership of engineering in these kind of projects. And I'm going to be sharing 3 useful pragmatic approaches for this. The first one is back-channeling. I'm not promoting backbiting or gossips here, but this is mainly private communication with stakeholders. Because to influence the project, you may need to get along with the stakeholders. And for these stakeholders, instead of having a public exposure with them for early ideas, instead of having a public pushback, you need to have these private communication channels, and you need to thread privately with ethical and transparent approach. This is also very useful if you are working with a customer-facing project. Instead of having misalignment in front of the customer and creating friction and maybe some trust issues, using these back channels with your team and align yourself inside the organization in front of the customer could be really useful to mitigate these issues ahead of time. The second one is calibration. I use calibration here as alignment on team, architecture, and the process. When you are trying to apply these superpowers, you have to be constantly checking, are we getting into the right direction? Are we aligning with a big picture? Are we aligning with the customer and their trust and their expectations to us? And that's why you have to look at calibration as a way of minimizing the distractions as well, because in these kind of projects, you may end up having multiple solutions fixing the problem, but you have to make sure that what you are working on is essential. Non-essential things should be mitigated later on. So there are lots of useful techniques like parking lots or another phase approach. For example, you may park some items and then you may not look at it until you feel like you have enough capacity in these kind of projects, as well as phasing out certain things in other phases for the same project. So then you will have measurable targets and achievements in these projects. And the last one is reflection and retrospective. In any of these projects, especially if you are following certain agile practices, we call them retros, it is really important to learn from the past and improve the futures. So in most of the retrospectives, there should be a reflection point that you need to candidly speak about what has worked, what didn't work, what we can improve. And this is one of those points that you can, with the given opportunity, you can influence the overall direction of the project as quickly as possible. Because most of these retro item actions are immediately affecting the process, technology, and architecture. And this is going to be the place you are going to have the most influence. In terms of concluding what we have discussed today, I have covered different types of context projects like migrations, accelerations, and shadowings. And for these projects, I've shared different leadership styles, especially on what kind of things you can be assertive, what kind of things you can be adaptive, and what brings you when you apply these kind of leadership styles. And also I've tried to share you the practical ways I apply in these kind of projects to influence the project that becomes my superpowers. And I could also summarize everything. It depends on the project and people and the company and organization. But I think this time is a bit different. This time it really depends on you. It depends on you how you influence. It depends on you how you grow. It really depends on you how you want to learn, reflect, and unlearn. Thank you.